So I want to tell you about the biggest news in Bitcoin today. And believe it or not, it is not a new all-time high. As you can see here, we just crossed, while we drop down a little bit now, $108,000 Bitcoin. Pretty crazy, pretty surreal, honestly. The fact that there's a lot of people out there who still think this asset is not legitimate, Ponzi scheme. Meanwhile, the biggest pools of capital on the planet are buying as much as they possibly can right now. And somebody out there is willing to pay $108,000, $109,000 for one Bitcoin. To me, that just seems crazy. But on the other end of things, we've only just begun. This whole thing has only just begun. And the biggest piece of news that I'm going to share with you today is a Senate vote in the US that happened last night. 100 votes to 0. And that was the vote to eliminate tax on tips. And so I'm going to tell you kind of my thought process on this. I want to point you towards a new resource, a new tool that I found, and the way we should be thinking about this as we head into the future. So when Trump was running for president in 2024, one of the promises he made was that he was going to get rid of a bunch of tax for seniors, tax for veterans, tax on tips. And we've seen one of those play out as of yesterday. So 100 votes to 0. Kind of bizarro world, I'm not going to lie. But the point is that the world is changing. We're moving through a transition here from the financial system, the economy, the workplace. Everything is going to change over this next decade, and it's going to change very, very dramatically. 2035, we're going to look back and we're not going to recognize the world that we live in today. Just like when you think back 4 years ago, before the great pandemic of 2020, the world was much different. There was hardly anybody using Zoom. Most people were working in the office. The world was completely different just 5 years ago from where it is today. And in the next decade, things are just going to accelerate here. So the no tax on tip is a much bigger deal than I think most people are realizing right now. So I want to share this little meme. I think memes are extremely powerful on spreading a message. And this is actually from Nostr News Network. And it says, a haircut, $35? Nah. Haircut is $1 with a $34 tip. That's what we're talking about. And that's what's going to change everything here going forward for everybody. Again, this isn't happening in some random island country somewhere that nobody's ever been before. This is happening in the US of A, the most powerful, influential country on the planet. They have eliminated income taxes on tips, which begs the question, what is a tip? Exactly what that meme was explaining there. How can you differentiate between a tip and normal income? And for people who are kind of working on their own, self-employed, we're seeing that shift from people working a 9-to-5 job to doing their own thing. And with the internet now, with Bitcoin, it's much more easy and accessible to be able to do that. So we're kind of at the point now where whatever it is that you want to do, you can do. And I really don't think that most people are comprehending that right now. So kind of where we stand today, I like following the 80-20 principle with everything. And I kind of think that today, if you looked at the numbers, you would find that about 20% of people are working for themselves. They're self-employed, whereas 80% of people are working for somebody else. They're employees. But I think in 2035, we're going to look back and that's going to shift. It's going to be 80% of people are now self-employed, working for themselves. And maybe 20% are still working a job, 9-to-5 for somebody else. And my whole theory around Bitcoin, my whole thesis is that you could have as much Bitcoin as you wanted to. You could have 100 Bitcoin, 1,000 Bitcoin. Doesn't matter. If you're still going to work for somebody else, if you're still trading your time and energy for somebody else to profit off of, you're not fully sovereign. And there's some people in Bitcoin for the number go up, for the price appreciation, which is good. I mean, it's part of it. But there's people in this for the sovereignty, the freedom, and getting to choose your own hours, choosing your own rates, and choosing your own life, choosing your own adventure. Shout out to Goosebumps, the Goosebumps series 20 years ago. So my point is is that you should start thinking about this yourself. What could you do? What skills do you have that you could provide to the world using the internet, using all the technology that we have available today, using Bitcoin, and you accept that. And you can decide what your ratio is there between income and tips. So I'm going to share a resource with you here. And as I was going through this, as I was looking here, I came across a post that I wanted to share, just kind of an aside while we're here. I figured I might as well share this. This is from one of my favorite Bitcoiners, Matt Odell. And he says, so many distractions right now. So many distractions. And I would agree with that. There's the price. There's all these different share offerings, Strategy, Semler, GameStop, Metaplanet, 21 Capital. The list goes on and on and on. Products on top of those, Strike, Strife, MSTY, all these products are, in my opinion, distractions. Accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible, as quickly as possible to secure cold storage is the signal. Stay humble and stack relentlessly. That seems like a new catchphrase from Odell. It used to be stay humble and stack sats, but it looks like he's taking the relentless route. I like it. But what I want to show you is actually a post from me. And this might appear to be a little self-centered, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. So I made this post last night. It says, you're not buying Bitcoin. This is, of course, with the another distraction as of late, calling Bitcoin sats, units of a Bitcoin sats, or bits. Jack Dorsey, some argue is Satoshi, billionaire, creator of Twitter. He suggested that we start using bits instead of sats to eliminate confusion. So that's another distraction that we've lived through in the last couple of weeks here. But I said, you're not buying Bitcoin or sats or bits. You're buying time. You're buying leverage in the future. And you're buying truth. And maybe I'll explain these quickly before I get to the main point here. But when you're buying Bitcoin, you're buying time in the future. Those sats that you accumulate today are going to be worth significantly more in the future. So if you can take a few hours today, add value to the world, convert that value into Bitcoin, and hang on to that Bitcoin for a while, you can actually set your own salary. Because until you actually spend those sats in the future, that's when you determine your salary. So if you held on to those sats for 10 years and they're worth 100x what they are today, you're essentially giving yourself 100x salary for those sats. So you're buying time in the future. You work today, you store that time and energy in Bitcoin, and you buy yourself time in the future because of that increase in purchasing power. You're buying leverage in the future, which means that if you had a business and you're stacking Bitcoin, if you're adding Bitcoin to your balance sheet, the amount of leverage and power that you're going to have in the future to be able to hire the best talent, to be able to design the best products with R&D, with everything, to expand, to grow. You can use that Bitcoin as kind of your rocket fuel and leverage in the future. If you accumulate those sats now and you secure those in the future, that is going to provide you with significant leverage in the future for yourself, your family, and for your business. And finally, you're buying truth. And people might take this a couple different ways. What I meant by this is truth in the sense of, in the future, based on the technology, based on the advancements that we're living through right now with AI, it's going to be very difficult for people to decipher what's fake and what's real on the internet. We're kind of at that point already. And this AI revolution has only just begun. It's going to get scarier and scarier. And so essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have to pay sats if you want to leave a comment, if you want to send an email, if you want to do anything online to verify that you are in fact a real person. So we're going to live through this. There's going to come a time where we're going to leave this fake illusionary internet behind, and we're going to move to a different internet that's real, and it's backed by sats. And you might say, well, how does that make it real? It's because Bitcoin itself actually takes a piece of the physical world and brings it to the digital world. When you mine Bitcoin, you're taking real life energy and electricity and power, plugging that into the wall and trying to mine Bitcoin. So it brings the physical world to the digital world. That's what makes it real. That's what Bitcoin is going to allow here. And so you're buying the truth. You're going to be able to decipher fake from real in the future because of sats. And everybody's going to be paying them. The difference between you and them is you're going to get a much better discounted rate on those sats today versus waiting like 95% of the population will do. But the other thing too, the other part of that for truth is the Bitcoin network itself is just a giant ledger of transactions that anybody themselves can go in and verify. So if you compare this to how governments operate these days, where the Federal Reserve itself hasn't been audited in 111 years, zero transparency there, zero truth. That's what our economy, our society is built on, something that is completely fake and a lie and BS. So with Bitcoin, you're buying truth. You're securing your time and energy on a transparent network, and that's what you get with Bitcoin. The name is irrelevant. So you can call it Bitcoin, you can call it sats, you can call it bits, doesn't matter. You're buying truth, leverage, and time. But what I wanted to share with you here is this post I made was on Nostr. This isn't on X. This isn't on YouTube. This isn't on Instagram. This is on a new protocol like Bitcoin, a protocol, and it's called Nostr. So here's the crazy thing. Instead of somebody sharing my post or giving me a like or a thumbs up, people can send me real value. So this person here sent 21,000 sats for this post. Somebody else here, I think it's Steven, I recognize that profile picture, sent 420 sats. Mav21, one of our favorite Nostr users, sent 77 sats. And Sergio with 33. I don't know who this is, 56 sats. Bon. Oh, and Ken. Can't leave out Ken, Bitcoin Buddha, and Chef Tommy. So everybody there for that post, instead of just giving me likes, which is also an illusion, they sent real value. They sent sats. And the nice thing about Nostr is that, number one, you don't have to enter your ID into it. Number two, there's no thresholds. So on traditional platforms, I would either have to pay Elon $8 a month or whatever it is now to get verified so I could get a couple bucks every month. Or on YouTube, I would have to hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours before they would even give me a dime. Whereas with Nostr, again, you can go on there without anybody's permission. You don't have to enter in your ID. You don't have to have any sort of following. You can make one post on there, and if other people like it and get value from it, they can send you value in return for that. And that's a pretty powerful thing. And so the point of this is to tell you, if you're in Bitcoin right now, you should absolutely be doing everything you can to build yourself up on Nostr. It's great for this. If you create any sort of, I'm not even going to say create content because that's just a whole different ballpark here. If you post it all online, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, if you make any sort of posts online, you should 100% be putting those posts onto Nostr. You have nothing to lose and literally everything to gain with this. And this is part of the transition. So as you build up your Bitcoin stack, your economic power, you use things like Nostr to build up an audience. And so you can shift away from your 9-to-5 job and start adding value to the world for the skills and knowledge that you have using something like Nostr. You can supplement that with Twitter, YouTube, and stuff. But I highly suggest everybody should be focused on building their Nostr. So again, that's Nostr. I'll share some resources here in the show notes for you to go check out. I got a couple videos. You can check out a couple websites. But every single person who holds Bitcoin today should be building a Nostr reputation. That's what we'll call it, a reputation. Because keep in mind here, the world that we're moving into is very decentralized. Bitcoin itself removes the middleman from the equation. And that middleman has served as the trust component when people transact value. But that middleman is going to be gone. And so therefore, with no middleman, you have to trust other people and you have to build up your own reputation online using tools like Nostr with Bitcoin so you can more freely and actively transact without having to worry about the trust implications of that. So you should start today. It takes time. Just like everything within Bitcoin, it's proof of work. It takes time. And the best time to be starting is today. So I hope you enjoyed that. I actually have a QR code here myself for Arnie's wallet. If you do want to send some value across the screen, if you enjoy what I've been doing here, very easy to do. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope you enjoy the nice increase of your net worth and your purchasing power as Bitcoin continues to rip. And I would say that we are just getting started. And remember, we are right about Bitcoin. We are right about Bitcoin. So secure it, start building, understand we're going through this transition, and prepare yourself for it. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.